Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood Was Armageddon. Mud Flood was Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they are willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. I have a show scheduled at 7 o'clock. For some reason, wanted to come on and just go over some tabs that I had pulled up because Monday nights are kind of reserved for talking with Baara, a friend from Finland, who has questions about the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and creation and things like that. And that's kind of a priority. But these things were so important, and I was stumbling upon the mark of the Lord. I'm going to compare it to the mark of the beast. I do Let's see, I do have an invite in there. This is the verse here. We're going to go over this tonight, too. Then I heard him call out in a loud voice, saying, "Draw near, O executioners of the city, each with a weapon of destruction in hand." And I saw 6 men coming from the direction of the upper gate with faces which faces the north, each with a weapon of slaughter in his hand. They were coming from the north with a weapon of slaughter in their hand. With them was another man clothed in linen who had a writing kit at his side. And remember when you see those magic bands, those clocks, and they're holding the pine cone and they have a magic bag? Maybe it was a writing kit. Who knows? And they came in and stood besides the bronze altar. Then the glory of the God of Israel rose from above the cherubim where it had been and moved to the threshold of the temple. And he called to the man clothed in linen who had the writing kit at his side, "Go through the city of Jerusalem," said the Lord, "and put a mark on the foreheads of the men sighing and groaning over the abominations committed there." And as I listened, he said to the others, "Follow him through the city and start killing. Do not show pity or spare anyone. Slaughter the old men, the young men and maidens, the women and children, and do not go near anyone, but do not go near anyone who has the mark. Now begin at my sanctuary." And he was going to go ahead because it was, and when he's told them to defile the temple, trust me, if you've read Ezekiel, you know they had already defiled it. And I guess it's going to be my duty with Brother RJ, or, as we've done this before, we'll explain this. This is acts of kindness. Follow him through the city and kill everyone whose forehead is not marked. Go through the city after him. Do not let your eye pity and do not let your eye spare. Okay. So we have one there, it's definitely the forehead. They know it's a mark. Let's see what that comes up with. I just don't see here those who have charge in his hand, and he called out in his hand. Okay, lot to go over. Now, my mind was turned towards this. I was listening to it. Helical Heart's Petrified Synchronicities. This goes back 4 years ago. A lot of subscribers for the chiropractor, and it weighed heavily on my mind that all of the people that popularized the things the Lord had shown me in vision, like with the helical hearts, the stones crying out, the body parts of the titans, that body parts of the titan things, that's stellium 7, uh, Jay Dreamers, people like that, they don't know God, but, they've made a living selling it. But why am I still sitting on 3,500 after I started this new channel 2.5 years ago? Because the same reason it was only 9,000 some before was because I'm doing it for the Lord, and it's always going to be about the Lord. It's never been about making the money. My reward is in heaven because this earth is not my home. They are having their 15 minutes of fame. That's, after much reasoning, what I've come to is the conclusion of why we're different. And I would rather have kept on digging with RJ in the Bible than going over every day and proving that it's a helical heart. Because, like we already know, it's a star for it, baby. Do we really need to see another city with, wow, I found an arch underground? No. Hear that? Am I sharing the screen? Because I'm only hearing that if there's anybody here. I haven't. Hey, Marcella, hate to interrupt you. Appreciate it so much that you're here. You've been around, you've seen everything, and since they've started talking about it, we've learned a lot and advanced. And I was only wondering if when I played that clip, I know it sounded very quiet to me in my earphones. Let me turn that up. Now we're going to give it another whirl. Un momento, as we say. All right. So basically, this is 4 years ago, and you can ask Marcella. He used to name drop because the main takeaway on this, and my position is going to be, Randy and I talked to Mike Stellium 7 on the phone, and we have the records and the times and the days, and we explained to him the helical hearts, what we were doing. He was reached out, sent emails because of Andreas Xerxes, the recent Tartarians. And then after we told them, they flew there and explored it. And this is their reward. They've taken it away from God, but we've learned so much more since then. And the time has come to expose this type of nonsense and let them know, because I believe something is going on that is super important right now. And stolen glory, stolen valor, false prophets who, learn something because it's like, look at me. This is not a humble man who first 5 videos. They didn't come until it's proven, and that's the good thing, I guess, about this spy technology world we live in. We know he learned everything in a phone call from RJ and I, and we had been working the stones, and there was another man there, a witness, who didn't do the work on the stones, but he's definitely a witness, and we still have the phones. So I mean, it's a big deal to us because it's going to, all of this, your synchronicities, all that you've studied, you've prepared your life. No, Andreas Xerxes gave you my name. You were close to Montgo, and he said, let's go give a look at this. And now we'll just look at you. I'm sure this isn't it's a fun flat earth thing, right? You get all over the world interviewed. So is he comparing himself to Nikola Tesla after he did not do one thing? There was not one synchronistic thing in the universe that drew him to the stones without a phone call from a friend that said, "Call this guy, you need to hear this." He did not know about Francisco Torrance Guasp until I showed him the videos on the helical heart. Not one thing. And their reward is now because they've made their career on banking it for money. And it's not going to be enough of a reward for what this world is going through. He did not know these people. Here is the myocardial band. Now, even on that cow's heart, did you see before he flipped it over here? I want you to notice that the muscles and the fibers, they're all connected, but they are different colors, and that's different colored banding. That's what it's called that we see in the stones. It's can you see the different colors in the muscles? See, I think that's a good view. Some darker, some lighter, and we followed them. It is fantastic, and I'm glad that, we could do the Bible work. Well, he did some good work here, spreading the word, that he learned. So I have, some pictures pulled up tonight, and Lord willing, we'll go over them now and getting some kind of a storm going on out here. We have this guy. to go over. He did. They don't got no pictures for this guy, Sergio Guillermo Segato, Mister Segato, Roboto. He could petrify human flesh. He's that guy that somehow, but all of his secrets died with him. There's some other pictures in there. They have some. Yikes! What is that? There's a petrified foot. No can see it. Let's just keep rolling here. I got a bunch of tabs. Sacred geometry. They act like they discovered it. Who cares if it doesn't lead you to the Bible? You know, this would never work. You're not going to be able to figure out that anything except nonsense. It's not going to prove that there's an ark because this is not empirical evidence because there's going to be arguments. Well, so you've only proven one thing. That doesn't mean that there's a moon here and the gravity's holding it together. This story is so weak. And now that we know it's an ovoid spheroid, they want to sell. I mean, the flower of life and thing. I mean, the people knew that God was an architect. It did, when you take away sacred geometry from God the Father, you've destroyed the creator. But who cares if it doesn't lead you to the fact that it's true? A lot of things in the Bible point to the body, and you can do this and that with math and numbers. Notwithstanding, the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ walked on this earth. That's what matters. These fancy pictures are rabbit trails unless it's written on your heart. I'm going to keep some of these open and we go back over them. Spikenard, traditional medicines, perfume, religious ceremonies. There was times when, people were learning. And spikenard was something that I'm going to be looking into, because nard, for some reason, I started looking up the word nard and spikenard was there. Historical table games. There's a time when it was like either backgammon or a backgammon type game. And then there were games like this from the 15, 16s that, that's like backgammon too. Well, kind of that's like backgammon too. And then that English game is 58 holes. Okay, well, there's cribbage, which is like another form of backgammon. Was this a third millennium? There's so many ways we can track them, but it seemed like they like backgammon. And then there was a time when they like chess. But backgammon and cribbage seem to be how they passed time for a while. And it wasn't the whole, this was a mental game, a card game. Group seen cards in 3 or 4s. It's a very simple game, but you from Britain already know about it. It's your national game. There's simple yet. And I guess it goes back, people were really into it. My parents played it like whenever they had a free time, and they would 15-1, 15-2, 15-3, 15-4, boom, 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 and they'd be pulling out. Boy, is it storming outside here in Alamosis. How many Vitruvius men are there? And what is the Vitruvians? What are they doing here? Showing perspective or explaining it to somebody? As the new king, you should understand perspective. I am Vitruvius teaching you, Augustus. Look, this is a Roman house plan after Vitruvius. Oh, Vitruvius, he's like their Nikola Tesla. He's that guy, the Vitruvian man, except, you know, Leonardo da Vinci made it more famous. There's a, in their time period, I guess the Vitruvian men, and he's a very famous person. There's that water wheel, the screw, Archimedean screw, Vitruvian. They got it all figured out. We'll see where that takes us. This Gabina gens, a plebeius family, a generation family from the ancient Rome. Huh, they're members, you know, who are this Gabinia members? Gallus, okay, wow, okay. I've heard of him. When are they coming into a little couple hundred years before Christ? Just one of the many families. Here's another one. Lucius Vitruvius Cerdo. Is this the same one? He was active in Verona. Could be the same guy. First century Verona. I mean, it's probably the same now as it was then. Everything is almost somewhat similar. Who's Victoria? Is she a Vitruvius also? Leader of the Roman breakaway realm? Way to go. Is that Queen Victoria? Is that could be who, whatever? I don't know, but the 30 tyrants, you know, that's one way of describing it. Are we into hidden history and stuff? Who's this guy? Vitruvius Vaccus. What, another one of the citizens of, I guess that's a Starfort, baby. He led some sort of a revolt against Rome in what they call very suspicious. The man of considerable reputation, both in his own state and also at Rome. Man, I feel like my throat's about to give out. I better take a sip. Ugh. Just one of these guys. They got it all figured out with the computer, right? I can't get away from this. Ezekiel, son of man, set your face against the daughters of your people? That's Ezekiel 13, verse 17, who prophesy out of their own hearts. Well, it's not because they just, just picking on them. Somehow women are, they can be guilty of prophesying out their own house and heart, then they'll be prophesied against. Woe to the women who sew the magic bands upon all the wrists and make veils for the heads of persons of every statue in the hunt for souls. Will you hunt down souls belonging to my people and keep your own souls along? You have profaned me. I think he's talking about the daughters of Jerusalem, the ones, like pouring out drink offerings to God and sewing magic bands. You profaned me among my people for handfuls of barleys and for pieces of bread, putting to death souls who should not die, and keeping alive souls who should not live, by your lying to my people who listen to lies. Thus says the Lord, behold, I'm against your magic bands. I'm not going to close that one. Huh. What? Nobody cares. Whatever, dude. Nobody cares. Hey, did you know if another Florida city uncovered a mysterious network of secret tunnels? Guess what? They all have secret tunnels. Doesn't it seem? Do we really need to know? Oh, there's one near outside. Oh my goodness, let's watch 4 hours of videos on it, and say, well, we are going to plan on turning it into tourism. No kidding. Wow, there's an original idea. What's this guy? He faced the east and prayed to God in the east. This is 1564. That's less than 100 years after supposedly Columbus discovered the place, and already the French Huguenots, who had been persecuted because they didn't believe in the Trinity or Rome, were dealing with them, and the French were going like, well, that's working out good. But this Chief Otana has gold and we want it. Found it. Madness. What would drive people to madness like that? Well, we're going to find out. It's going to be happening again. Fort Ancient. These are all things that I just wanted to touch on because you never know what VAR is going to bring up, and RJ is going to be there. And I don't know if we're going to have time to hit these things that I thought were important, felt the need to share with now. Fort Ancient is not that Hopewell culture, the Serpent Mound. No, that's supposed to be different, that they lived contemporaneously, separate but sister culture to the Mississippian culture, Fort Ancient culture, not Fort Ancient. Fort Ancient peoples supposedly introduced corn to Ohio. Huh. I thought Columbus did that, or Columbus something. Huh. Alligator effigies. All right. That's near Granville. So, what was going on? Did they say that was like between AD 800 and 1200? Okay. That's suspiciously in the wheelhouse of the mud flood was Armageddon. Little artwork, huh? From their culture. What do they got going here? Thanks for the bad picture. That's really the best picture that anybody could put. I'm sure these eyes and everything. Who knows what they had to work with? That sometimes the people that were ruling other nations were pretty mean to them. Seems like they were doing well until outside interference. There's the Serpent Mound. One of my first big visits. Let's see what else we had. That is a algorithm draw here. There's Sergio. He had a great time. I had a great time on his show. I think he's doing really well. Let's see. This is a fresh thing here. We got 119 watching The Archivist. He's going to be reading stories about things are weird. Some other looks like there's a couple movies in my algorithm. What we got here? Some Bible verse. Quiddim. It's some of the east wind. Those ancient people, savages, Native Americans, they prayed to the god of the sun, that when it was rising in the east, they didn't know if they were worshiping the sun or worshiping the east, but this word means it's going to blasted with the east wind. It's an east wind, east wind, east winds. I don't think we're going to get off the east wind thing. Ezekiel 43:1 says, "Then he led me to the gate facing east." And this was the same gate that was, you remember chapter 9 with all the slaughter? I'm going to keep these up and go back over it for myself. And if I see anything, you know, back to, well, 10:19 was pretty much, as I watched, the cherubim lifted up their wings, rose from the ground with the wheels beside them as they went. And they stopped at the entrance of the east gate of the house of the Lord with the glory of the Lord of Israel above them. Wow. Let's go back here and just pop in on, things are still going crazy. Remember when glory of God comes into the temple? How bad was it for the Jews? How much of a covenant breaking society were they? Well, glory of God exited the city. That magic bands, I think, when the Lord commanded the man clothed in linen, saying, "Take fire from within the wheelwork, from among the cherubim." The man went in and stood beside a wheel. Then one of the cherubim reached out his hand and took some of the fire that was among them, and he put it into the hands of the man clothed in linen, who received it and went out. The cherubim appeared to have the form of a human hand under their wing. So take that hand as form of a hand. Gleamed like. Then the glory of the Lord moved away. Verse 18 starts. It continues, from the threshold of the temple and stood above the cherubim. As I watched, the cherubim lifted their wings and rose from the ground with the wheels beside them as they went. And they stopped at the entrance of the east gate of the house of the Lord with the glory of the God of Israel above them. These were the living creatures I had seen beneath the God of Israel by the river Kibar, chapter 9. Each had 4 faces, 4 wings with what looked like human hands under their wings. So this was the altar. And these measurements, it's probably going to bring it back to, this is our body. This Kadam is another one from the east. They did not meet from the east, come from, and this word has a lot to do with, we were here, 6921, the east wind, and they'd say that this is taken from Kadam. You can see if you give a Kadam, it's the one that this word is taken from, that they did not meet you with food. Ooh, the Moabites should have done that. The snares of death prevented me. Sheol surrounded, confronted the snares of death. An arrow there, nor come before it with a shield, because they met not the children. Again, confront or disappoint. Arise, Lord, confront, disappoint. Okay. So here's a map of the Huguenots, the French people that, says they were settled in dealing with the Native Americans in at least 1562 when this map was made. Another French Huguenot settlement in London. I believe this had a year on it too, in the 1500s. They call this 16th century. So here's that video. Let's see. I'm going to check in, make sure I was sharing. Thank you all for stopping by. I hope you don't get burnt out on me, because I want to be able to have you listen to Va'ara tonight. But closing with some of the pictures I screenshotted today to let you know what's on my mind. You know, I got to make these thumbnails myself. I don't have a posse. That's tonight at 7, less than an hour away. There's this song by Led Zeppelin. I wanted to get this lyric here. What did it say? Then as it was, then again it will be. Though the courses may change sometimes, rivers always reach the sea. They used to. Now they have that endorheic basins where after Armageddon, all the rivers don't flow to the sea anymore. Looked at this, thought you should see a picture of it. Kind of cool, huh? Largest, you know, I've seen this. They call it new, but it's not. Metronon's cube, you know, that's not, you know, why would they say it's named after the Archangel Metronon? Because that's what John Dee and Francis Bacon would have you believe. They put that in the same category with, you know, this. The Shirianta. That's a lot different. This is from a religion that says this sound and vibration that has a pattern of something, you know, resembles an eyeball. That birthed the cosmos. That's not metronome. Metronon. So they basically knew all about it. It was only in the Middle Ages civilization forgot about, you know, what they call basic math, geometry. They forgot all about the Bible teaches that we're the measure of a man. So I wanted to get that, you know. So yeah, they already had this set up here with these other kingdoms, and the French were dealing with them, Spanish were dealing with them, Virginia, Vitruvius. Yeah, wow. Secret tunnels, eerie clues. And Da Vinci did this, or he learned this from Vitruvius. So, because I thought this was James Watt who did the paddle wheel and then converted it to steam, and they could do all of that hydroelectric with the, and then again, you know, groundbreaking stuff. If you've seen my other videos, it is groundbreaking stuff. You're having your reward right now. Uh, he got himself a scope to look in there because we told him that's what we do. See how when the heart is beating and you're caught all of the hearts in a different heartbeat, it could be the same right ventricle, but see how it sometimes when you see a heart, it's like that. That's this is the takeaway right here. Look at this point. All right, and right here, this here is a schist stone. When these pop open, it's that schist stone that they say is an ancient alien propeller. They got a story for everything. If you want to know the truth, you'll find out in heaven. You'll get a glimpse of it here because the Lord is lifting the veil. Yes, we'll find these chambers more and more. It's a lot of work. And, you know, this is a good picture. I got a picture of this overall shape of the mountain. You know, after I told them that all the rocks are body parts of people reserved in judgment, they had to turn it around into, well, I've got this as an elephant. And I dealt with them for a while, saying, you know, look, it's a mammal. What would mean you're tracking and saying it's an elephant? It could be a mammal, and you think you see a trunk, and that's the only thing. But he never got past the. You wouldn't even be here if it wasn't that you were directed to Flat Earth Nation Golden Age Past to find out about it. And now you want to tell me it could be elephants, like everybody else. It's all of these are signs of a mammal. Of course, Jay Demers, he's been doing it. This was, this was 1 years ago, but not an original thought there. These are good though, because now anybody can use these when they go out to look for rocks, and you'll see them everywhere, and you'll understand the banding, because we live on an eyeball Earth. And it's very trackable. It's very traceable. Human doesn't have to be it. Avoided. Yeah, I mean, he's upset that Roger Spurr avoided his work on the petrified organs. Unbelievable, Mike. This is your reward. See these gaps? Trees don't do this. That is what I know the name of it. It's slipping my mind. Starts with Hevalian. That's where the blood and the arteries flow in between the muscles, fibers. Tree rings don't grow up with breaks every segment like that. It's not a tree, everyone. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And everybody wants to know, yeah, so where'd the mud come from? Well, don't worry, Stellium 7's there to take you away from the Bible. And they complain, look, here's A.E. War, autodidactic. Hi, it's Greg, Mr. Nice Guy. Isn't this weird, all this crazy stuff? No, A.E. War, you and Wood Nichols and everybody, you're taking my viewers. So there's a nice picture of Mr. Zach. So that basically is what was on my mind today. So now we're waiting. Oh, better than gold. Hola, Sergio. So I'm going to invite you again to everyone come at 7. I just had a lot of things to get off of my mind because I've been so busy. I want to see how this works. I went and bought a new anatomy book today. Let me turn this background off. And now I'm going to pick up my camera. All right, hold on. This is probably pretty crazy looking, huh? But I've always been curious of how this will look, if it's backwards or not. But this is a color photography book of the human body. And I just want to see if some of these pictures will look like rocks to you. Father, please help me find a couple that will be a good example. The larynx. If you saw that, would that be a box? A rock? Or if I polished the side of a rock, threw a little dirt on it, and then cleaned it off, and you'd say, wow, that's weird. What's that? Yeah, it's a larynx. The same, it's another thing. So it looks at, and here's the lungs. We've taken these apart. Let's see if I put the light on. Maybe one dot. Would that not be a rock? Because the rocks are the body parts. This is the trachea, the bronchus. Probably better without the light, right? But it all looks like, well, that's a funny looking rock. Well, that's a funny look. That's not a rock. They look like rocks because and this, cavity of the diaphragm. I have found and shown this. I'll have to get this picture out and compare it because this is more of what it looks like when it's in action. But I've done a liver. I've done. There's a group of what would look like rocks in a mountain. Just all right, ladies and gentlemen. There's. Oh, I had to find this one picture of the rods and cones if I could. Here's the better picture of what some of you people have seen before. I have this part and shown it with its different succuluses and connections and what it would look like. The kidney, the adrenal glands, everything in my world is worth the time that the Lord has spent with every day making videos, finding new things, and not being, shy about no Trinity, no everything, let's stick to the Bible. This is, flat earth is a Bible movement. Mud flood is a Bible movement. Because why? Everything's a Bible movement. That's my position, and I'm going to stick to it. Hopefully I'll see you at 7. In the meantime, remember, it's a flat earth nation. The golden age is past because the mud flood was Armageddon. Me and my friends, we're never going to tell you anything else. Why would we? We're trying to prove that we have your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen and goodbye.